we're doing it live. So I'm just gonna go straight into the Dread Report, just so I can actually see what's going on. This one I'm quite, like, pardon the pun, dreading, because like this is about everything with Metroid, as far as I can gather already. Like, let's just go into it. Let's just go into it. Unraveling a saga 35 years in the making. Okay. Are we gonna go in order of like release date? Welcome to the Metroid Dread Report. This series will introduce the newest information on Metroid Dread game and the world of the Metroid series, along with the behind-the-scenes glimpses from the game's development team. Cool, I love that. On August 6th, 1986. That's 35 years ago, Jesus. It's weird to think about. The first game in the entire Metroid series, simply titled Metroid, released on the Family Computer Disk System in Japan. The game kicked off a saga surrounding the intertwined fates between bounty hunter Samus Aran and the enigmatic Metroid species. Saga that will conclude with the upcoming Metroid Dread game, the fifth game in what is commonly called the 2D Metroid series. There we go. I don't read too much. Yeah, a lot of people have been saying, like, is this the end of Metroid as a whole? It isn't. Because obviously, Prime 4 still is in the works. And Sakamoto confirmed that there's a new chapter after Dread. So, there it is. The first Metroid. I recently played through the original Metroid, and yeah, it hasn't aged well. It really hasn't. Oh, the artwork. The Metroid species, an unknown floating life form discovered on SR-388 by the Federation. Space pirates on planet Zebes steal the Metroids from the Federation. Want to use them as weapons. Let's get in touch with Samus to bring him in. Oh, the old Ridley art. Oh my god. It's so weird to see all of these after so long. Beginning of the alternative end. Yeah, different screens. And then that's when most people found out Samus was a woman. An urban legend for a time. From the dev team, the very first game marks the start of a strange and interconnected fates of Samus and the Metroid, a story arc that reaches its conclusion in Dread. Iconic music and sound effects. I want to hear the new music. I do want to hear the new music. Yeah, I haven't seen everything about this yet, so the original game was remade in 2004 with Zero Mission. We believe you could feel a connection between this section at the end of Zero Mission and Metroid Dread. And then Metroid 2. I have the Samus Returns art book that shows all this. It's really cool. I love art books. They're one of my favorite things. And then Dread has a 190-page art book. Yeah, count me in. Send a research ship to planet SR-388 to confirm the existence of the Metroid there. Yeah, if you've basically played And I assume you have like Samus Returns and the original Metroid 2. You'll get. Oh, these are the HD ones that people have been saying. Oh, hell yeah. Funnily enough, I wanted, like, on Twitter, I made like a little collage of like a bunch of Metroid stuff. And I was looking around to see if there were any HD pictures of like the Samus Returns art. Now there is. Oh, look at the Chozo Varia suit. It's so cool. It's sick. So are these the eyes? No, they can't be the eyes. They just look like eyes. They might be. Never seen it in proper HD before. I'll save all these for another time. That one's so cool. See, like, these Chozo are different from the general. These guys have, like, generally wide, like, heads and beaks and stuff like that. The general... I like these ships. They look like Reapers. Do you think Rundus would make for a good character in Smash? Yeah, he'd be really cool. I absolutely intended that, by the way. No one in the history of ever's made that joke. Yeah, I'd like Rundus. I doubt it's going to happen, but... Okay, I need to see this trailer, because I haven't seen it yet. I assume it's going to be in here, so we're just going to keep going. Transmission from the dev team, Metroid 2 Return of Samus and Metroid Samus Returns games depict the first encounter between Samus and the Metroid hatchling. No, I'm not going to say it. These chapters also include descriptions of Chozo civilization, which makes them fundamental to the overarching story of the Metroid 2D series. I'm just thinking now. Okay, the glimpses of dread. The video at the end of this article. Okay, so it is here. Shows what happened. What appears to be Chozo memories. How do you imagine these come into play in the Metroid Dread game? Interesting. Okay, and then the legendary Super Metroid. I won't read all this because we've played the games, I assume. Jeez, to go from like that to go from that to that. Jeez, what an evolution. Good to know. Numbering the entries. The Super Metroid and Metroid Fusion games do not have a number in their titles, but the opening video of each game labels them as Metroid 3 and Metroid 4 respectively. Similarly, you can find Metroid 5 in the beginning of the Metroid Dread game announcement trailer. Cool. Bird Ridley. Okay. The Super Metroid game can be said to offer the greatest flexibility for exploration in the series. You can enjoy similar flexibility in the Metroid Dread game. Okay. Depending on how you take advantage of your abilities, you might be able to find ways to obtain weapons, items, and abilities earlier than intended. Wow, okay. So they're just straight up going the Super Metroid route. We encourage you to try to discover alternative routes of exploration. That's very good. That's very good. A lot of people are going to be happy about that. Okay, Metroid Fusion. Yeah, we all know this. Okay, so it does say here that the planet was destroyed as well. I had a couple issues with that, because, like, the station doesn't seem like it could take out an entire planet, right? It's tiny. Like, surely, like, half of the planet could be destroyed. Like, I'd say that's a bit the maximum I would accept. But the entire planet? It's a bit... But, alright. See, like, in my head, I'm thinking of, like, the moon in Sonic Adventure 2. Like that's how SR3E8 is. Cool imagery as well. Planet in half. You can't. Yeah, it's too cool. Oh, yeah, there were bloody zombies. The SAX. Saw this the other day as well. Gameplay improvements. In Metroid Fusion game, the streamlined controls, such as for switching weapons at diagonal shooting, help evolve the gameplay to feel much smoother than in previous games. You're telling me. Samus also has more moves to her disposal than ever before, such as hanging off ledges. I'm surprised Prime doesn't have more of that, especially given the like Halo 5 that has like Halo 5 has a major basis on how Prime could go in terms of gameplay if you want to bring in more of the 2D gameplay elements. Really powerful fusion or antimatter. Okay, antimatter would make sense, but we don't know any of that. It's just boom, and then planet gone. Edge hanging is so limited in Prime 3. Yeah, I really want it to be more like Halo 5, where it's very like on any ledge you can do it, and it would fit right in because the 2D games do that. Transmission from the dev team. The SAX is a tremendous threat that Samus comes across many times over the course of Metroid Fusion game. Each encounter where Samus runs or hides from the SAX was an in-game event that springs on the player. However, we thought, what would happen if we evolved this? This line of thinking greatly affected the concept of the Emmy sections in the Metroid Dread game. It's obvious to see that, like, because they say like, in the developer like video and stuff, that the technology for Dread wasn't there, and it was always about the Emmy. It was so clearly about how the Emmy's AI works and stuff like that. And especially because like some of the maps I've seen, the Emmy sections are really big. It's got to like traverse like an entire map really. So that would be really complicated for a Game Boy or even a DS game to do. So it's not so much about the graphics or anything like that. It's the Emmy. It took this long to make the game because of the Emmy, of how advanced the AI is. Also, as the Metroid Fusion game is a direct prequel to the Metroid Dread game, you'll find many threads weaving the two stories together. For example, the reason why Samus' suit looks the way it does and the appearance of the Aran computer AI in Metroid Dread are directly connected to the events of Metroid Fusion. Oh, hello! Getting FNAF vibes off this. Okay. Yeah, Halo 5 was a disaster story-wise. Like, holy hell. But Infinite looks great so far. I unfortunately didn't play it, and I'm very sad I didn't. But campaign-wise, it's looking as Halo as ever. But anyway. Oh, we're not allowed to full screen this? Okay. Wait, let's refresh this. Hang on. Let's do this. Ooh! Okay, so that's the new. I like how the lights look. Oh, the theme! Ooh. Okay. Okay. All right. I want to go into that frame by frame. Okay. Let's watch it again. Oh no, that's probably how she looks at the end of Fusion. Like, this is like just after fusion. She comes down onto the planet. Then she meets the Chozo. Then presumably betrays her. Okay, I'm intrigued. Yeah, that definitely seems like when she's coming towards the planet. Like, this is just after fusion at that point. So people were wondering where the fusion suit at the end, like after Samus absorbs the SAX, people wondered where that went. Well, that was it, and I imagine things aren't going to go too well for Samus. The Metroid DNA in is going to bite her in the ass, isn't it? Because I assume the Chozo is like all happy friendly, and then figures out that she has the last remnant of the Metroid. And then it's like, okay, we can't have this. And like that looked like she was being taken over, like taken control of. The secret to Samus' strength. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack with this. So I thought it was going to go over the entire history of Metroid, not just going over the 2D games. So never mind what I've been saying. I still find it's very weird how they're talking deliberately about the storyline, like as well as the 2D games, obviously. Oh, pardon me, Jesus. Like they're explicitly talking about the storyline of the 2D games. But the thing people like to forget, and I don't blame them, is Other M is a part of this storyline. Like, to me, it doesn't matter that it's not a traditional 2D game. And that might be a fault on my part. But it's so weird to talk about the storyline, specifically the storyline, and not mention Other M. So I'm not saying this out of a place of hate. I'm just wondering where it is, because it is relevant. Especially if it is actually canon. And you'd think, like, because of how much it talks about Samus and her connection to the baby, you'd think they'd mention it. So I'm just confused. Probably a marketing gimmick. Yeah, probably. Because the only time they've referenced Other M is the past is prologue line from the marketing. That's the only reference it's had. It's like I'm not. I don't know. Because it's sort of leaving me in the dark a little bit, especially as someone who really wants to know the lore and the story and stuff like that. Like, I run the Metroid logbook on Twitter. It's imperative that I know these sorts of things. But anyway, overall, this is a really cool report. I'm glad it came out today as well. I was wondering where it was, and I was like, oh, obviously, it's going to come out on the anniversary. The little video, I'm intrigued. Is it on YouTube? Let's have a look. I'm just looking for the... if there's a video of that online, because I want to go through it frame by frame. YouTube one has sound, okay. Don't really need the sound, because we just watched it. Okay, so I'm seeing a couple versions. Like, there's one based on the one we just saw. There's also a longer version? Oh no, it just repeats. Okay, never mind. Okay. So this is perfectly Nintendo. I've got this. So we're going to look at this frame by frame, or at least close enough to it. So naturally, this is the Fusion ship. It's so cool to see it in 3D. It's really nice. It's really clean looking. Ooh. It looks so clean. It really does. This little texture work is a bit rough, but... like, she looks so cool. Right, so... I'm thinking... like, and I think... chat agrees as well, that this is like the start of the game, and this is the... this is how the Fusion suit looks at the end of Fusion. With a redesign, obviously. That's how I'm interpreting this. Yeah, I'm gonna say that. The white throws me off a little bit, but that might just be... these might just be the parts that are regenerating. But it looks really cool. I like how this looks. I like the slow zoom-ins. We never really get a shot like this. She looks like she's wearing a sort of fighter pilot helmet. And that, the little mask as well, it looks really cool. I hope she has short hair, obviously because she's wearing a helmet. But we're not going to worry about that for now. We saw this in the original trailer. I can imagine she's pretty shocked. About all this. Yeah, it's that little head tilt that makes me think, like, hang on, what? Like, this is the first time she's hearing about the Chozo potentially not being the best of people. Like, this guy. Okay. So, this whole time, this is the first, like, proper look at this guy from the front. And now he looks a bit more in line with the classic Chozo. What I mean by that is the Talon Chozo, they always had narrow and very sharp, pointy beaks. In Samus Returns, the Chozo Memories, this guy, and I assume it's the same Chozo, had that type of beak. But here, he has the wide, classic Chozo beak. His eyes are also yellow. I'm not sure if that's just like for color or flair, or if there's something beneath the surface. And that would be very on brand and on theme if there was. See, he acts like the traditional Chozo as well. He greets you. He seems friendly at first. Like, this is how I'd expect a Chozo to act. But obviously, so there's something a bit fishy about him. this I noticed that, and it, not gonna lie, it did humor me a little bit. Like, just the Metroid's just taking your Chozo away. That one's horrifying, though. Like, he's being thrown into lava. And based on how the Chozo we just saw is now, I guess this is the same. It can't be the same guy. But are they? Oh, that's an Omega Metroid. Okay. Are they like sacrificing these Chozo? That's dark, but cool. No, that's the Chozo, and this is the general. Even they look a bit confused. Oh, the Varia suit tech. It looks so cool. Like the armor in Metroid and like all the suits. Most of them have been incredible. There's an obvious outlier, but oh, let's go through that. I forgot this was the part where it goes all quick. Okay. The Metroids, I assume. Okay, so this is like. Oh, they've changed it from the original trailer. Oh no, this is like to show Samus returns. Well, no, it isn't, because that's the X-infected Hornode. Okay, so in the original Metroid Dread trailer, they had Samus's suit look a bit more like the Super Metroid version. Like a mix between Prime and Super. So, and they seem like they've gone back on that and just gone straight for the Samus Returns version. Interesting. Oh, but that's a bit of an inconsistency. Okay. Yeah, that's blatantly like the Super version. Unless it's a no, it's a hybrid. It's just the back has the Samus Returns look. Okay. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Like the back has the Samus Returns look, and the front has like the Super version. And oh, I didn't even see that. Okay, that's a good shot right there. That looks like someone's like in an actual costume. That looks very good. Never thought I'd see the day when we'd see the SAX in HD, and then this is Samus. Is there something in the background? No, there's not. But wow, the SAX in HD, I was not ready for that. That is really cool. That's a cool shot. And it makes sense for it to show up here, obviously. It's weird to see Samus, like, not only this up close, but, like, that expressive, especially in a 2D game. Like, that is shock. Like, okay, the Chozo are kind of behind all this. Like, kind of everything she's kind of known is a lie, really. Because she grew up thanks to the Chozo. And this whole time there's been a very corrupt side of them. Yeah. And I'm wondering. See, I'm getting like two things from this. One, the Chozo is trying to either take over Samus because she has the Metroid DNA, um, and like is trying to control her or get the DNA for himself, or the Metroid DNA is having a reaction of some kind. Yeah, like it's starting to like drain her life. And I'm wondering if to save herself she has to eject the Metroid DNA. And so that I'm wondering. To save herself she might have to eject the Metroid DNA, but that's what the Chozo wants. Oh, that's an interesting plot. Ooh. And this is just me interpreting. But I'm wondering if the Metroid DNA is starting to either multiply or just have a reaction to Samus and the fact that she's absorbed the SAX. And the only way to save herself is to eject the Metroid DNA. But the Chozo wants that. He wants the DNA. So how is Samus gonna solve that? Well, play the game. Okay, I'm invested. Of course, that's just me guessing and speculating as to what the story's actually gonna be, but if that's how it is, that would be a great way to sort of end the Metroid threat, especially if this planet is gonna blow up. She'd blow up the Metroid DNA and the Chozo along with it, and so then the galaxy would be at peace at once and for all until Metroid Prime 4 comes out. So for me, so far, and this is going to go on YouTube as well. Um, the that's my basic sort of takeaway from this. The Metroid DNA is having a reaction of some kind, be it forced or because of Samus herself. And to save Samus, she has to get rid of the DNA. But the Chozo wants that DNA. For obviously evil purposes. Wow. I'm really looking forward to Dread right now. I'm glad that this is like the most we've had so far. It's like we haven't had really anything new for the past like 2 months. This is like this is a 30-second teaser. And it creates that spark of, ooh, I want to find out more. I really want to find out more. Nintendo, you're doing very good with this. You really are. And I am so looking forward to seeing what happens. And the music as well. Like, it's Metroid. It's so Metroid. And that's the funny thing. I've always preferred. I'll get the white screen off. I've always preferred the Prime games. Like, when it comes to Metroid, I've always been into the Prime games, mostly because it's just 3D. I prefer 3D games in general. But like, I've never really clicked with the 2D games. Mostly because of design rather than the actual gameplay style. And my love for AIM2R is proof of that. But this is the first 2D Metroid game where I'm very optimistic Because a lot of the design problems I have with the 2D games, especially with Super, that seems rectified here. And now the story is really intriguing me. And I've always loved the story in Metroid. It's so cool. Like, Samus is easily my favorite character because of it. Like, she's had a life. Like, holy hell, this woman. Happy anniversary. 35 years and leading up to this. Let's watch this in its entirety again. All of my yes. So I'm really looking forward to this. Like, it's so strange to see Samus in this way in the 2D games. The armor looks so cool. Wonder why the Chozo is in front of the Emmy zone door. Oh, yeah, I didn't actually notice that. I never noticed that. See, he's not nice. He's not nice. He's leading Samus in. It's a trap. This whole thing has been a trap this entire time. Like, I'm not sure if like people have like either been saying or have clocked it. But like the sort of premise is that Samus receives a transmission. I'm just adjusting for a sec. Samus receives a transmission from something. I don't think it's ever said if it was the Federation or the Chozo, but she gets a transmission saying that the X are potentially still alive. That is the perfect bait for Samus. Like, obviously Samus is gonna go. She just spent an entire game trying to stop it. And the Chozo has probably taken over the Emmy, because the Emmy are by the Federation. Like, they were sent here by the Federation. And presumably, the Chozo's taken it over. Yeah, Arginator, the purple glow, that's the sort of glow that Metroids produce when they absorb or have a reaction of some kind. That's why I say either the Metroid DNA in Samus is reacting to her and is potentially backfiring and could potentially kill her, which is a bit ironic. But there's also like the possibility that the Chozo is taking control of Samus, and this is how it's like being displayed. So it's either the Metroid DNA is having a violent reaction to Samus, especially because she's absorbed so much of the X, particularly the SAX, or the Chozo is trying to activate it. Sounds like the X parasite sensor activated. Oh, that's actually a good point. That's an interesting point. If there really are X here, maybe the Metroid DNA would react. But for me personally, like, my sort of theory is that, and I've already said this a minute ago as well, this is all going to go on YouTube as well if you ever want to catch up. My sort of theory with it is that this really is like a Metroid reaction, and it's causing Samus pain to the point it could kill her. And so, to save herself, she has to eject the Metroid DNA. But the Chozo wants that Metroid DNA. Samus can't just let the Chozo have it, especially because I assume she's going to quickly discover that the Chozo isn't very nice. So what's she going to do? That's the interesting thing. The Chozo is an X. That's a theory I've seen a lot, and that would explain the yellow eyes that he has. Like, Rule of Two review says that this Chozo's an X a lot. And like the yellow glowing eyes in the initial trailer and the fact the eyes are still yellow. Yeah, I'd believe that. And I don't want Samus to die. I don't think Samus will die. Like, and that's the thing. It's like, she's at threat of dying. She always is. But because of her sheer will and her strong sense of morality and the fact that she has a job to do, she won't die. She might come close, and that's interesting. Like, I want Samus to be, like, at her lowest here. Like, since losing her parents. And that's quite dark to say. But characters who go through immense hardship, especially if it's connected to them in their history, like the Chozo betraying Samus, that's gonna hit Samus hard. Like, I could see Samus like really not being happy about that and questioning her morals and stuff like that, and then her come to the conclusion that she'll stand by what she was taught and how she operates. Maybe the Chozo throws her to the center of the planet. Yeah, it that's what I'm saying. It's all a plan. It's a trap. So what I'm saying is the Chozo sent out the transmission to the Federation or Samus, and then Samus picked up on it and just went to the planet. So, no, that can't happen. That X can't be alive, so I have to go out and take it out. It's the first time Samus has met a living Chozo since leaving Zebus. Bro, gotta show you my appreciation for you making this top-notch Metro content. Thank you, mate. I really appreciate that. I've got a big grin on my face, but you can't see it. Yeah, I'm super excited for this. It's like that's like the perfect trap though. Like, he's being all polite, and so Samus will have her guard down. The Chozo are the only people that have never done wrong to Samus. Apart from the Chozo ghosts, but they were corrupt, so it's like by the Phazon. So it's like, okay, that's different. But she, like, if this is the X, she doesn't know it. And why would she assume the Chozo would be infected? I wouldn't. I wouldn't have assumed that. Especially in my haste of, like, right, where's the X? Where's the X? Oh, the thing that I trust the most. Where is it? And then she's betrayed. That's what I think is going to happen. Which, it's good. I like it. It's very interesting to me. I don't think this is Grey Voice. I don't think this is Grey Voice. Because Grey Voice was on Zebus the entire time. And this Chozo was on SR3EA, and if anyone, I would say this is Grey Voice as opposed to Old Bird. And I know, like, people are gonna say, but didn't he die in the manga? The manga's weird. because I see it as canon up to a certain point. It's like everything leading up to Zero Mission, that's canon. But anything that takes place during Zero Mission takes place over that. And that's the thing, it's like the manga's really old and could even be seen as outdated. So like the only sort of info that we have in regards to using the games themselves, Samus's planets were killed by Ridley and the Space Pirates. The Chozo take her away, which is old Grey Voice. No, Grey Voice? Old Bird, sorry, Old Bird. Wait, hang on. Have I been saying this entire time? Like you saying this is Grey Voice. Who's the one that Oh, bloody hell. Am I getting my Chozo mixed up? I am so sorry. Old Bird's the one that's really parental to Samus, isn't he? And then Grey Voice is the more aggressive one. Am I getting that right now? Let me I'm embarrassing myself on stream. Cut the feed. I'm not a real Metroid fan. Right. Let me look it up right now. Old Bird Metroid. Okay, Old Bird is the one I thought you were talking about. Old Bird is the one we've actually seen in Zero Mission. Grey Voice is the one that dies in the manga. Oh, here's both of them. So, here it is. And I have to be careful because I'm looking up Metroid on the internet. Yeah, I'm exposed. I can't believe it. Okay, so like this one is Old Bird, this one is Grey Voice. Okay. So now we've got that cleared up. And this is obviously Old Bird. And I always thought this was Grey Voice, but it's never like directly stated. Oh, pardon me. Okay, we got that cleared up. I'm now a Metroid fan again. Okay. Yeah, so this is Old Bird. I don't think that's Old Bird. To get back on track. Yeah, I don't think this is Old Bird. If anything, I would say it's Grey Voice, but that's very dubious. And might not even be plausible. This could just be some new general. It could be an entirely new character. And that's probably what they're doing. Okay, I'm a little disappointed that this Chozo doesn't look like the Talon Chozo. Obviously, I set myself up for that, but like throughout all of the like let me look it up quick. Even in this trailer, you see like where is Samus looking at? There it is. This face, this is presumably like that guy. And like the heads are different between each of these Chozo. And so I was under the impression this Chozo, which is presumably that one, was a Talon Chozo. Because, let me look up Talon for Chozo. And the thing is, there's already something. Okay, this is my biggest issue with looking up Metroid on the internet. There's always some suggestive content. You don't even have to look up Samus. Okay. Let's do a side-by-side comparison, actually. Let's do it like that. See, like, the beak is far longer. And, like, narrower. But like the entire, like what I'm getting at is like the entire time we've seen this general, he's had the long slender beak, which is why I was like saying that that Chozo was a Talon Chozo. And by Talon Chozo, I mean like this sort of look, or based on the Chozo statues in Prime and Prime 3. And I wish they released a HD version of the picture I need. But I don't know why it's zooming in on that, but this picture, it's hard to see because there's no HD version. This picture, and I assume it's the same Chozo. Like, he has the long, slender beak, like with this Chozo. So I hope you can at least understand where, like, my confusion came in. Okay, let's see. Oh, people typing in chat now. Hell yeah. Let's just have this play in the background. I will get to Prime Hack eventually, but I will get a tea afterwards, after I do all this, because this is really fascinating. It's new info, so I have to be very autistic about it. And I say that because I am autistic. The Chosen Guy's greeting Samus in front of the Emmy's zone door. I bet this is all a test. He could have killed Samus easily with the Emmys when he captured and altered his suit. Yeah, very much so. He might not know that Samus has the Metro DNA though, because that's also a possibility. He might know, but he might not at the same time. But that also leads credence to the fact that the Chozo is an X and knows that Samus is a Metroid, and so is sending her into the Emmy zone to either die or to lose that Metroid DNA so the X can roam free. With how different all the Chozo look in the memories, I think there's nothing that specifically indicates a different type of Chozo. Not anymore, I don't think, no. Because, like, funnily enough, this sort of supported my sort of stance on it. It's like, Old Bird was the traditional style of Chozo to me. And there's always been kind of like two species of Chozo. The more spiritual and scientific, those are the classic Chozo. Whereas the more warlike and grounded Chozo were the Talon Chozo. And by Talon Chozo, I mean the Chozo that appear in, or are at least talked about in Metroid Prime. And presumably those Chozo come from Elysia. So really I should be saying Elysian Chozo, but Talon sounds cooler to me. And so to me there's always been two different species with very different ideologies. But I could be wrong. And so like there might just be one Chozo, but it's the fact that the Chozo memory has the both designs. That's the thing that was really that was the thing that was really throwing me off, because designs in Metroid, they matter. They do matter. It's like the Zebesians and Space Pirates, they are different. And by Space Pirates, I mean the Space Pirates in each of the Prime games. Like, the Space Pirates in Echoes and Federation Force, they're the same. But the pirates in Metroid Prime are different. But the Zebesians are also different. It's like the Covenant in Halo. Like, they're all different species with varying levels of intelligence and stuff like that. And even relationships. I've always interpreted that the Prime 1... I say Talon now. The Prime 1 Space Pirates, I always envisioned that they hate the Zebesians. I don't know where I got that from, but I'd like that to be the case. Calling now that Chozo greeting Samus in the teaser as an X Power. So a lot of people are starting to think that. And it makes sense. It would make sense. think the X possessed the Emmys, and he's controlling them as a test. The broken Emmy was damaged by evolved Metroids that militant Chozo's brought back from SR3 after slaughtering the scientists. That's very plausible, actually, because we know that X can take over machines. That would make a lot of sense. I'm a bit concerned this teaser may have showed a bit too much. What do you think? I don't think so, because this is the opening. This is like the first thing you're going to see in the game anyway. And it's really sparked my curiosity. Like, this suit is the one you see at the end of Fusion. This is an end game thing. That's how I'm interpreting it anyway. This is the same suit at the end of after there. Let me rephrase that. I'm not very good with words. I don't really think before I speak. The ending of Fusion, after Samus absorbs the SAX, the suit that Samus wears, it like reverts back to how she usually looks. And I think this is the same suit. X can't control the Emmy, they're not organic. I'm not sure if... I don't think... No, because it absorbs the data that Samus wanted to have. It destroys the download data and absorbs it. People could say like it's because there's an like organic link, and so that's how Samus could do it, but I don't know. The game will have to explain. Emmy didn't destabilize into its true form. Yeah, that's actually a very good point. No X came off of the Emmy. Yeah, that's actually a very good point. Actually, Rival Seeker. That's a very good point. No X came out of. They could be hiding that, like Nintendo did with Cappy on Mario Odyssey. But I somewhat doubt that. Yeah, the box had a brain in it. Okay, yeah, so maybe like the X really can only infect or absorb stuff if there's an organic link. And that's why it was able to absorb the upgrades that Samus was supposed to have. And that's why the Chozo is the X and not the rest of them, not the Emmy. Like the Chozo's been able to take over the Emmy, like reprogram them. I think I've just discovered like the whole point. So the Emmy are designed for research. That means extracting samples and stuff like that. So if we've established that, let's set the scene. The Chozo is an X. We don't know for certain, but it's highly plausible. These Emmy show up by the Galactic Federation. Actually, okay, I'm working this out in my brain live. So this Chozo is an X. It then projects a transmission to say that there's X on ZDR. The Federation catch wind of this and send the Emmy to extract it. The Chozo, who's corrupted by the X, is able to capture the Emmy and reprogram them to absorb Metroid DNA. And so the Chozo or the Federation send another transmission to say that the X exist, and not because she's working for the Federation, but the fact that there's the X that are still out there. Samus goes to ZDR, meets this Chozo. The Chozo lures Samus into the Emmy zone so the Emmy can extract the Metroid DNA. because it knows Samus is the only source of Metroid DNA. And that's why Samus... Okay, it all falls into place, actually. I think I just discovered the plot of Metroid Dread. Okay, I think we can call this spoilers, because I think this is the most likely thing that's going to happen. And it would know Samus has the Metroid DNA, because it's X, and as far as I'm aware, the X sort of universally know everything, especially if it's high intelligence. Let's see. Apparently Samus actually doesn't have Metroid DNA at the end of Fusion. She does. She does. It's the X she doesn't have. I did interpret it that the X sort of invalidated the Metroid DNA, or the SAX core invalidated the Metroid DNA, but that doesn't make sense. Because the whole point of the Metroid DNA was to get rid of X, not the other way around. So Samus is still has Metroid DNA. So she still has the Metroid DNA and doesn't have any X at all. I mean, the Chozo guy somehow made Samus' suit revert to blue, who's to say bird magic won't get more advanced this time. Not gonna lie, I hate the phrase bird magic. I've seen it thrown around so many times. But I don't know. Like, we'll have to see for the game. We'll have to see the game play out to see how that actually all happens. Because in my mind, it is definitely a trap. Be it because the X want to get rid of the Metroids, or the Chozo want Samus, or even the Federation. Because Samus is the biggest threat in the galaxy right now. Both for herself and the fact that she's the only source of Metroid DNA. And so, like, when she goes into the Emmy zone, I'm sure she's gonna, like, take, like, a huge hit. Like, I imagine she's gonna, like, have some of her DNA absorbed, but not enough. And so the rest of the game, she's trying to stop the rest of her DNA being extracted. Or the Metroid DNA, sorry. Isn't she immune to X already, which was caused to suit to go to blue? What if he invented an even stronger X? Even stronger than the SAX? Or even the SAX again? Because I've already had nightmares of playing Dread, going into a room, reaching the other side, hearing an ice beam, and then hearing those dreaded footsteps. Right, let's loop this again. But yeah, Samus is immune to the X. She still has the Metroid DNA, and I think Sakamoto's confirmed that as well. Can't remember where he said that, but I'm sure he said in an interview that Samus still is the last living remnant of the Metroids. And the fact that her hand glows like the Metroids do, it's like, that's proof enough that she has Metroid DNA. The SAX she absorbed apparently destroyed the DNA. That, I don't think that's the case, as we've illustrated now. I think the video was meant to be sent to SR388, not the Federation. Remember when Adam said it was weird that X-Parasites tried to blow up the BSL station? Well, funnily enough, Adam says the threat of Samus herself is so great to the X elsewhere. I always interpreted that as the X on SR388, but that might not be the case. It might literally be the X on ZDR because of the Chozo. It may have been picked up by the BSL, and X parasites on board may have seen it and were motivated to destroy the BSL. I'm not sure about that, because that's pure speculation in my like, if we're really thinking about it. How is she able to use the ice beam? I think it's because of the suit rather than her DNA. It's like the suit sort of stops her DNA from being attacked by the ice. It's why she could go into cold rooms. Because she absorbs the SAX, like, Samus is returned to her full power, including her suit. So I'm thinking, like, it won't attack her DNA directly. That's my interpretation of it, and it is speculation, but I think the Chozo is real, the X are a law. He wants Samus more than anything. Chozo has distracted us from how much the Federation must distrust Samus. Yeah, because I don't think, like, a lot of people are saying, like, Samus was hired by the Federation to go to ZDR. I don't think it's that. But it's, like, I'd like it if it was, like, the Chozo and Samus team up to go against the Federation, but I really don't think that's the case. Did she take the mission because she claims to be the only one immune to the X? She doesn't take the mission as she's done before. Like, she hears about it and then just goes to ZDR. It's not like she has a meeting or accepts the mission. It's like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a good analogy or comparison, but she doesn't traditionally accept the mission. She just hears that there's X and then goes to the planet. It doesn't matter that the Federation talked about it. It's like, it would be if the Space Pirates talked about it, she would still go because there's the X. Yeah, her suit was blue infusion because the surgery she had. But at the moment, I think it's a reversion from her current state in Dread. Yeah, Sakamoto can retcon things because a lot of what people say in terms of, like, what is like the truth, like, for example, Samus loses her Metroid DNA. That was I think that's because Sakamoto said in an interview that she loses the Metroid DNA, but that's clearly not the case right now. And I'd take the game's word over an interview. I don't want to talk about Other M because I will get very Jesus, I will get very ranty. And I'm annoyed that Other M and Prime weren't talked about, because this is like the Dread Report. That was supposed to talk about the entire Metroid franchise from what the last report said. But no, it's just the 2D games again. But, and I know people are gonna say, like, oh, the side stories, but Other M really isn't. It's involved with the, oh, pardon me, that was gross. Other M is involved with the 2D storyline, even though it's not a 2D game itself. Because to say something isn't related because of gameplay, I find that is really ridiculous. Yeah. I'll just say about Other M, I don't view it as canon because of Samus Returns. And obviously what Other M does, but Samus Returns just enforces what I feel about it. Let's keep. There's a lot of people here. This is really good. Welcome to the stream, everybody, as well. Should we play some music? I think we should play some music, because it's just me talking. Let's play... I will get to Prime Hack, but this is just really, really interesting right now. What do you guys want to listen to? Let's listen to the most obvious Metroid music. Like, anytime there's a Metroid YouTuber, this will be the music they put on. Is my thing set? It isn't. Let's lower it a little bit. Actually, no, put that full volume. And then have this slightly up. Let me know about volume, okay? Yeah. Someone already read it. This is like the Metroid YouTuber commentary music. Anytime anyone talks about Metroid, they have this music in the background. Let me know if it's too loud. Oh, is it not coming through? Hang on, let me fix that. There we go. Now let's start it again. There we go. Oh, I figured it. Yeah, there we go. This is the Metroid commentary music. Oh, gee, I have to scroll up in chat for once to read what people have been saying. How else would Samus know about the Federation's mission to ZDR? One bet Adam received the video as well, but was told not to inform Samus about it. Yeah, I'm sure Adam intercepted the transmission. I'm not being sarcastic. That sounded sarcastic, but I'm not. I do think Adam intercepted it and just told Samus about it. She's like, okay, we gotta go. It's like, screw the Federation, we need to kill the X. But to lose all her powers that she gotten at the end of Fusion. Yeah, I definitely... Like, this is going to be another rare time where the loss of her powers is going to be explained. After the end of Fusion, I believe Adam shared the video with her. Yeah, after, yeah. It's like when the transmission goes out, Adam gets it and then tells Samus about it. She doesn't accept it in the way that she usually does. She's just like, well, the X is still alive, well, we gotta go. He'll hack into the Emmy. I'm not sure about that. Because he's not hands-on. Because he's still on the ship. Metroid is trending on Twitter. Hell yeah. I'm gonna make a tweet. Hell yeah. Sick. Let me know if the music's like too quiet or loud or anything like that. It's fine for me, but I don't know about you guys. Let's not discuss that. Yeah, other end, like that talk is done now. We're crab raving now. I think they want to avoid mentioning Prime because of the lack of info on Prime 4's release. I mean, that makes sense, but I feel like ignoring Prime when you're talking about the history of Metroid, like, you're literally ignoring the best-selling game in your franchise. Like, that's why I'm, like, very about it. Never mind, we're going to talk about Other Rim again for a sec. Other Rim is a prequel we didn't need to understand Fusion's plot. If the story made sense before, it should after, though Other Rim arguably makes it harder to understand. Metroid invalidates the entire Metroid timeline. There, I said it. Because if Samus goes onto the bottle ship, sees the Federation trying to recreate Metroids, and there's a Queen Metroid, which doesn't make sense. But that's a video for another time. And then she goes to the BSL, and there's an exact replica of SR388. First of all, why would the Federation trust Samus? Because she just ruined their plans and is an outsider. Why would they bring Samus to the BSL? And why would Samus be like, oh, everything's fine here, when there's a literal recreation of the Metroid homeworld? And also, don't you think it'd be a little weird that, like, hang on, how have you still got the Metroid DNA? Because I'm sure you just got rid of it. And obviously there's the, like, Prime thing, but that's a bit lesser. But the main thing for me, the Queen Metroid. Samus herself, obviously, but the fact that a Queen Metroid exists on a place that isn't SR388 or a replica of it, that is law-breaking. And I'll talk about that in another video. Also, great upgrades from Fusion are X-made, so I think somehow she's going to get a removal, maybe with that purple thing. Explain why we got to see Chozo Tech again. Maybe. Like, the Metroid DNA is, like, draining her of her upgrades because they're still X-related. That makes sense, I think. Bit annoying, obviously, but... also, maybe Prime story isn't as connected to Samus versus Metroid's arc like the main games. It isn't. It's a completely different storyline. And, like, I understand why it wasn't mentioned for that, but when you're talking about the entire history of Metroid as a whole, like, why are you ignoring Prime? And Other M. But, like, that's the thing, like, Other M, I find is weirder to not mention because it is connected to the Samus versus Metroid's arc. It literally has the opening to Super Metroid. Ordered a keyboard so I could learn how to play Ridley's theme. Oh, fair play. Hope G Fuel releases a Metroid Dread themed flavor. Get your X Fuel today, guys. Using the promo code ZDR. Samus wears eyeliner in Dread? I hope not. I really hope not. I hope that's just her eyes and the fact that she just has eyelashes rather than eyeliner. She's not Bayonetta. Stop making her like Bayonetta. Right, let's see, actually. It's hard to tell. It's the same thing with the heels. Like, I don't think there's a good angle. But the whole time of, like, since Dread's release, that looks like a Halo 4 armor piece, by the way. Halo 4 and Halo 5. The issue I had with, like, ever since Other M, like, Samus has had heels in some form. It's not appropriate for the character. By that I mean she's not about fashion, she's not sexual, she's not Bayonetta. They're not practical, and Metroid is practical. Like, thing is, a lot of people say, what are you on about? She turns into a bull. The games justify it. Like, the games go out of their way to make it believable. Apart from Samus herself, which is annoying. And how the Morph Ball works, she turns into a ball of energy. You see it in Prime. I know it sounded like condescending, but it does shock me how sort of people argue about that thing. What if Adam gets an Emmy body? I don't know. I don't know if Adam will be anything more other than he just talks to you and updates you on certain things. Because he's still on the ship. And you're talking to Adam. Your music's fine. I'm sorry for talking about Other M more. You stated to be a future queen. That actually explains why it's separate. But that's the thing. To get to a queen, you have to go through the natural life cycle of the Metroids. That only happens on SR3E8 and the BSL, but that's because it's recreating SR3E8. But Samus Returns reinforces that by implying that the Metroids absorb Aeon energy, and that's why they go under their natural life cycle. So two things. The Queen Metroid in Other M doesn't have any access to Aeon energy, and it's not on SR3E8. The fact that it's a queen is irrelevant. It's supposed to be a future queen is irrelevant. It needs to go through an Alpha Metroid stage in order to become a queen. And that only happens on SR3E8. Because it has Aeon energy. Dread Samus has Prime 1 hair. SAX has Other M hair. I did notice that the SAX had very similar hair to, like, sort of. Oh, there we go. Like how Samus is sort of usually depicted. If you've not seen this before, this is great. But I don't mind. Like, it's difficult. It does look like Other M Samus's hair. By the way, the only thing, well, one of the only things I like about Other M, the fact that the game gave her short hair. It just makes sense. Certain X-parasites are the culprits on ZDR. They infected the Chozo after the events in the memories and were planning to spread across the galaxy but crash landed on ZDR. Maybe. There was a Torizo on the BSL. I just remembered. So the X are at least versed in the Chozo. Gun feet on Samus. Please don't. Last time I speculate that the X have been using the Chozo's knowledge to build a means to get off ZDR. That's also possible. I feel like they just want to get Samus and rid the Metroid DNA, so then they literally have no threat. Imagine an X with all the knowledge of the Chozo. Gravemind X? Chozo X? Gravemind Chozo X? See, like, the Flood from Halo and the X are very similar. In a good way, obviously. Super the hatchling just got chunkier because no Aeon energy. Yeah. It grew, as opposed to formed into an Alpha Metroid. Because you'd think it would have. It's like there's a reason it didn't become an Alpha Metroid. It wasn't on SR3E8 because it wasn't absorbing Aeon energy. Even Ridley, like at the end of Samus Returns, it attacks Ridley, but he doesn't have Aeon. Of course, the game gives you Aeon, but I assume that's because of a gameplay mechanic. But it could also be like, I don't know. I assume it's a gameplay mechanic first and foremost. But Ridley isn't from SR3E, and so he doesn't have any Aeon. Getting creepier and creepier. Do you want me to like get it off here now? Metroid grew huge in Super because the space pirates overexposed it with beta radiation. Is that ever like actually supported, or is that like an interpretation people have had? Because what we know, like, the baby was cloned. That much is obvious. Where does it say, like, the Super Metroid? I'm going to call it the Super Metroid because it's cooler. Where does it say, like, the Super Metroid was exposed to, like, beta energy or radiation? Like, what is, like, the source on that? Is it a manual? Is it, like, a logbook of some kind? Yeah, the Super Metroid doesn't become an alpha because it hasn't got Aeon energy, nor is it on SR388. If the X aren't evil, what if they were preserving life because the Chosen kept killing it for Aeon? That explains the mutations, making them stronger for defense. Yeah, I don't think the X are inherently evil. It's like they're just animals. Or a parasite. It's in their instinct and nature. It's like the Metroids aren't evil, they're just animals. Trying to make it queen as possible, and for that the space pirates are stupid. Because they don't actually know how to get a queen. Whereas the Federation do, and so it's very confusing that they'd make a... I'm not going to go onto a rant. I'm certain that's the case because Metroids will multiply if exposed to beta radiation. I think that's supported by Prime, isn't it? I think it's Prime that says that, now that I'm thinking about it. ZDR stand for probably Zerberus. Like the Z in, probably stands for Zerberus. The militant Chozos want to make the race great again. Trump Chozo. No more loser scientists dooming their own survival because they... See, that was my theory behind the Talon Chozo. Like, I always thought, like, the Talon Chozo separated from the classic Chozo to become more how they usually were, like great soldiers and warriors and stuff like that. But then some of the Talon Chozo started to sympathize with the classic Chozo, and so that's the Chozo you see on Talon 4. And the ones that disagree with that, those Chozo left, and that's what I thought the general was. I thought he was a member of that. He could still be, but like, that was my theory on it. Like, this Chozo came from Talon, left Talon because the rest of the Chozo there were like, okay, we actually get why the classic Chozo are very spiritual. And this Chozo was like, nah fam, I want to fight. NES manual, that's not canon. See, I don't like to look at manuals unless it's like a last resort thing. But I think Prime in-game supports the beta radiation causes Metroids to split. I could be wrong, but... and I think it's Talon Chozo specifically that are like exposed to high levels of beta radiation, and that's why they can split quite easily. Talon or Aether, I'm not sure which one. They're kind of one and the same, but... Chozo General for the last Smash DLC character? Yeah. But please don't be mad at me, but in the promotional stuff for that Forsaken other game, they said that Metroid can also be overgrown with radiation. Yeah, they can. It's like Prime does that, Super does that. Metroid NES is mute because of Zero Mission game. The beta radiation tidbit is still relevant. How? Does Zero Mission mention it? I always thought it was Prime that mentioned it rather than Zero Mission. And I always thought the Metroids during Zero Mission were all unique Metroids. Like, because they were taken from a batch from the Galactic Federation. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap up the recording of this bit. I've been recording for like an hour and a half. This is all going to go up on YouTube as well. It's not going to be edited or anything like that. But yeah, so overall, Metroid Dread, I'm really looking forward to it. The story elements have really intrigued me. I love that little bit there on screen just then. I love the implications, and there's so much speculation to be had. I'm really looking forward to it. And as said earlier, like, I think I've sort of got the plot sort of predicted. So I'm gonna wrap up the video. I'm still gonna keep streaming, where we'll play Prime Hack, the entirety of Metroid Prime 1. We could even find out if the beta radiation thing is there. But I'm gonna wrap up this recording. I'm gonna make a cup of tea, and then we'll play some Prime Hack.